All right, Nick, this is gonna be good. Last time we recorded, which was a hot minute ago,
Some time ago.
I talked to you about how I had the COVID. That was like the big grand reveal.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
And that's changed significantly. Where
No, it hasn't, Jeff.
It is
Jeff,
changed.
I know when you lie to me. I know. All right, continue. I'm sorry.
I tested negative for the COVID one or maybe now 2 days ago. I don't know. It's hard to keep track. But I think I'm finally done. Nick, hold on. Let me move my pop screen out of the way. I think I'm finally done.
I'm glad for you, Jeffy.
So freaking done. Oh my goodness gracious,
my
sir.
Poor guy. Does that mean you get to go outside again?
I am going outside in a big way, and then we're going to talk about that later. But I actually, you know what? Let's just hop into the show. We'll hop right into the things. I'm making up for lost time, but first we have to talk about the intro. Hello and welcome to the Year We Started a Podcast. It's a podcast born Phoenix-like from the ashes of last year's podcast, where there's nothing but ashes and rubble behind us. I am your co-host, Jeff.
I don't know where Jeff is recording where there's nothing but ashes and rubble, but I'm Nick.
I don't even know where our show notes are. I'm doing this completely off the cuff. But yeah, we're a couple of friends that are 2 continents apart or half a continent apart, depending on which
2
week
continents
it is.
apart.
Last week it was 2 continents, or last time we talked it was 2 continents apart. And like the funny thing was, is like when I said that, it meant nothing to me. Like I 100% did not even realize that's what I said. And you called me out for it, and I didn't even know what you had called me out for. And so like doing the edit was like a weird thing. Where I really realized like how real the COVID fog is. I'm not saying that I'm gonna completely bat 1,000 here, Nick, but I'm not gonna say that we're 2 continents apart because that's just not true. Unless it is true, in which case you need to keep me up to date on your travel plans.
I will let you know, but also I'm not really sure how I would measure being 2 continents apart. I mean, I guess I would just be like if I was on like the south side of South America, right? But anyways, more importantly, I'll keep you more in depth, and also you do better at understanding how land works.
Thank you.
I said that in the meanest way I could, and you're welcome. Continue.
I do know how the land works. That is true.
Demonstrably not proven just yet.
Hey Nick, I want to know real quick, how's it going, buddy? We didn't even do like our preamble where we talk about like, life and stuff. How's it going, bud? There's like a Red Bull something you texted me.
There was a Red Bull Rampage.
Is that like downhill biking and stuff or whatever?
So Red Bull Rampage is no, Red Bull Rampage is way crazier than anything related to Nick. But it's mountain biking's like kind of premier crazy person event. Like if you could think of like, you know how you think of like Evel Knievel, or like if you think of motocross with like Travis Pastrana and guys doing like double backflips and stuff, you're like, shouldn't do that. These people doing that is a bad idea. That's Red Bull Rampage. Is they go ride on out in Zion National Park in Virgin, Utah, and
which is one of my favorite places on the planet.
Unbelievable. Okay, so then if you imagine if you could if you rode down that in like a 2-minute period, complete with like backflips and like 75-foot canyon gaps and stuff. Today somebody backflipped a 75-foot canyon gap, which was a little insane. And by a little insane, I mean, oh my god, I freaked out. So stuff like that. It was real good, real fun. I feel like this is the second year in a row, or I don't know. It seems to happen occasionally that it gets cut short because of wind, because you don't want to do 75-foot canyon gaps with 20-mile-an-hour wind. I guess the wusses. They're just wusses for not wanting to do that. But it got cut short, but it was still a good competition and nobody got hurt. And that's like, it's like shockingly like everyone like does a run, and it's like these are the most talented riders in the world at this specific kind of thing. And and then they're like, everyone's like relieved, like, look at him, he's alive. And it's
right.
I don't know if I can do it justice.
Is a great part of any event.
Yeah.
But so overall takeaway, enjoyable.
Super good time. I don't want to belabor that because I talk mountain biking on this thing all the time. But Red Bull Rampage, it's up on YouTube. Go have fun.
So that was the thing that I prompted you with. Any other fun things, Nick, since last time we talked? It's been a while since we hung out. Any fun things on your side of the
I went
continent?
on a vacation, but it wasn't like a crazy vacation. It was to the Bay Area. I think I told you that last time we talked. Before, I was talking to you right before I left. Was a great time, but not super. I went to Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz Redwood Mountains and Redwood Forests are amazing. Gorgeous, good times. San Rafael, Marin Bay Area, awesome, beautiful, great time. But nothing especially notable that would be like super podcast talk.
Is that actually on the coast, or is that just more in the mountainy side of things? I'm very stupid about how everything California works.
So both of them, both that I mentioned are Santa Cruz, Santa Cruz,
mountain and coast.
Yes.
Seems. I thought that was not even a thing that you could. I mean, I know that is true, but like it's so not like foreign to me because for me, it's like. If I really wanted to, I could drive 25 minutes to a lake. But
right.
I would be surrounded by flat for the next, and I don't mean this as an exaggeration, 1,000 miles. That is what I have around me. So the idea that you can go to a place that is mountainous and coastal is very hard to I know that because you send me pictures. You send me the pictures. But that's really hard to believe that that's actually a place.
I don't want to I don't want to oversell it. It's not the same as being in the Rockies. It's not the same as being in even in somewhere like Mammoth Mountain or anything like that. Is Mammoth Mountain in Mammoth? I don't know. So Santa Cruz is a little beach town. That's actually where I went to college. And Santa Cruz, hold on, let me look up the elevation of the mountains. So Santa Cruz Mountains are right off the coast, and peak elevation is 3,800 feet. And it's probably like a 30-minute drive from the coast proper. Okay. And they're both, that's Santa Cruz is the beach town, and it's called the Santa Cruz Mountains. So they're relatively both connected and also close together. The other place I went was. So that's Santa Cruz is separated from San Jose by the where you were staying in the general area you were staying when you came the last time I saw you here, and that was that is south of the Bay Area, and then I also stayed with my parents in San Rafael, which is Marin County, not San Rafael. I don't know where they live anymore. Marin County, and that has a mountain called Mount Tam. That's literally across the Marin County is across the Golden Gate Bridge on the north side, so it's right on the coast, right on the bay. And Mount Tam is a 2,600 foot elevation. So not huge by any means, but not the biggest mountains in the world by any means. But yeah, in the mountains, yeah. Man,
that is so nice. So you had a good time?
I did. It was a great time, and also your feelings are not weird. By the way, there's the saying that California is the only place you can snowboard. Skateboard and surf in the same day.
You can beach and skateboard.
You can beach and skateboard. It's the same thing. Good job, me. Words is good.
Tony Hawk beach skater.
That's what they say. That's the words they say.
I mean,
there's something wrong with me. I'm sorry.
I have a topic I want to talk about, but I have a main topic that I just want to hop into. But I need to Google something before I can get into it. Hold on, just 1 second. So remember when we talked about AI and concerns about it, specifically in the realm of AI art?
Yeah.
That was kind of the genesis for that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Have you kept up to speed with where this whole thing has gone since we talked? Literally, I think 4 weeks ago. I think that's when we had this, maybe 6 weeks ago.
No, not even remotely.
So when we had talked about it, we were talking about AI, images being made and just what that means artistically.
Right.
And it all felt like further advancements might be, on the horizon, but like somewhat far away. And so like some of these things were more theoretical in nature as far as having a conversation about than real. Nick, since we've had our conversation,
we were like, oh, that could be a thing in the future. The future was a couple weeks.
Yeah. So when we had this conversation, I could go onto one of these places and I could join a queue to have my little AI art thing generated based on my prompt. And like I would have to wait at that time because it was honestly I did it one other time later on and it was like hours to get your thing done. When I did it though, it was like 5 minutes. Like you had to wait in queue to get your prompt turned into art. And so it was like well, this is at the end of the day, this is like gated by supercomputers, servers and stuff like that. Like there's no way like that this is going to turn into something that is easily expandable in the normal people's computing. So that was the thought. And then we released the episode, and then about a week and a half later, one of the big ones, Diffusion B, released a Mac version of their algorithm and all of their models to just any consumer that had one of the new Macs, which I happen to have, with the M1 chips or M2 chips. And you could just do the thing that you could do on the distributed website thing on your own computer. And it took about, I've played with it. It takes about 20 seconds to like generate an image on my own computer, me, just some idiot. And you can get some very freaking good things. I think I low-key think I might have a better podcast logo than what we have now, just from typing in our crap. But it is my point zero on this is it felt fun, like as a toy, like when I was playing with it and we were talking about it. And it has gone from felt like a toy to felt like a tool that I almost know how to use pretty good at this point without like any actual expertise at all of like knowing what to type in to get what sort of thing. I put it like you can upload your own image and you can just say like what you want your face to be like done in the artwork style of, like where you would normally have like a cartoonist, for example. Like you could just say like me as a cartoon, and it might take 1 or 2 or 3 tries. But Nick, you know about the amount of skill that I had to do to make that happen.
You had to learn how to type in cartoonist or select cartoonist
as cartoon and wait 20 seconds. And if I didn't like it, do it again. And eventually you would get one that was very good with changing nothing. And Nick, I guess first off, any thoughts on like just this initial like me talking about this as a thing that I've played around with now? How do you feel about the fact that you can just type in, you can upload a portrait of yourself, type as cartoon, and you'll get a cartoon version of yourself, or you could type as or by Da Vinci.
You made me think of it You made me think of it last time as like a thing that is going to like be weird for intellectual property and weird for artists, and now it's all I can think about with all this stuff. And I don't know, man. Like, it's really cool. That's really cool. Like, I want to be excited about technology. Like, the fact that you can just like AI generate something, like that's pretty crazy, right? Like, that's a level of tech that we like wouldn't have thought very feasible very recently, right? And I don't know, man. I want to be excited about it, and also I feel like now my instant disposition with all tech is just to be like, this is going to be abused. Like, we shouldn't have technology. It's going to be abused. It's going to be used wrong. Well, and I'm a tech nerd. I want to love it. I want to be like, oh, yeah, look at these brand new badass graphics cards. Think of all the applications. And instead, it's just like, nah, dude, we're going to, like, put artists out of work. You know what I mean? Like,
well, we're going to, I think there's, like, a nice part of it that I think like maybe it was a little too soon or is like on the edge, but like Paul Walker in the Fast and the Furious, where they like recreated some of the scenes with his likeness, or Carrie Fisher in the Star Wars stuff, like where, you know, the actor or actress, you know, dies mid, you know, creation of that artwork, and that ends up being kind of a send off or a tribute to them. Like that to me feels like an okay, like maybe some people would disagree, but I think that's like,
no, I agree.
It's okay. Like it's a good taste with a good heart behind it, at least.
Right.
But like what would be different for me is if like then just forever it's just Carrie Fisher in Star Wars, like just being, you know, limped along via AI for forever. Like that feels gross.
Just saying that made me feel gross. Made me not feel good inside.
But what was fun in doing some of this research was, I guess, in some of the Star Wars things that have been made recently, Darth Vader's voice, which is James Earl Jones, has been AI generated for a while now, and people just haven't noticed, but like 100% is the case, and he's down with it. Like he's okay.
Yeah, as long as he's cool.
Right, but like that feels really, I don't know, that feels really weird to realize how good that is, to the extent that like if you didn't know that and you weren't searching it out, you would have no idea like that.
No, for
Darth
sure.
Vader's voice in any recent Disney creation of him was just a recreation of his voice from, you know, when he was 30 years younger. That I don't know. That's a very weird thing, and it also just feels like it's flirting with some challenging things that could be abused, for sure. I mean, at that point, you're like a step away from being a marionette, if you're anybody who has any amount of recorded voice out in the world.
And you brought up like deepfakes, right? Like, and I don't even know like the extent of how deepfakes are a thing, but like you just pretend that you are like a congressperson or something on a phone, right? Like, or pretend, like I don't know, and like you wouldn't have to, I don't know. There's ways that that's creepy, and
so here's where, so there's lots of stuff that has come out since we've last recorded, and some of it has been just the fact that so much more of this is publicly available, much more so than, you know, 5 weeks ago or whatever, which is crazy. The rate of change in this topic is pretty wild. And any sort of time where you feel like it was something that felt on the horizon at best when you did the recording, and by the time you talk about it next with a friend is like, wow, everything is out of date, and this is so much further along than I thought it would be in a year, but we're only 5 weeks later. Like that sort of pace of change is to be noted. I don't know how else to say it other than that. Like,
no, I agree.
That is definitely notable. One of the things that I've had pointed out to me, and I heard it on a podcast again, and I'm like, man, this is really, really well said, is a lot of the things that we've heard over the last year, or last 6 months or last 2 months, has been around AI art. But a lot of that is prompt driven, and a lot of those prompts are using language processing to take what we would say and have an output that is something that is the result that we're looking for. Mm-hmm. And the art side of thing gets like a really like that's the popular thing, because like that's something that you can show, and it's like, oh man, that's crazy how like for me, I was just having fun. I typed into my literally, this is something that runs on my own computer. Like I typed tall Obama, and then tall Trump, and then tall, like, but I just went through like tall _ president, and it was so hilarious. Like every single one of those were like such great, like that's exactly what you would, it's such a stupid thing to say, like, I want to see the president, but I want them to be extra tall, and then like the thing would just figure out how to do it. I don't know what made me want to do that, and I did know it was like a thing. There'd be plenty of source material, so like they would know who all the presidents were, but then I want to make them tall. Like I had no reason for it. It's just what I don't know. It seemed like an innocent thing to do. But Nick, the thing that is, I think maybe I'm even more concerned about than I was when we talked about this last time is how good text interpretation and text extrapolation is getting, like taking in a prompt via text and turning it out like a very coherent text output.
Okay.
And here's the thing I wanted to share with you. This is from another podcast, and this is a person who went to a conference recently that was kind of at the edge of this sort of thing, and just talking about some of his interactions with some AI stuff. And this is a particular part I just want to clip out of it. We'll see if I need to replace it in the actual audio itself, but I think you should be able to hear it okay. Hold on just a second.
Input. Michael is at that really
Hold
famous
on.
museum.
I forgot that I listened to everything freaking fast.
Didn't sound that fast, just so you know.
No, actually, nope, that was good. That was 1.0. So
Good.
we're good. I'm a normal human being. Okay, here we go.
And then the output, how the computer answered. So here is the input, and this is very strange. It's almost like a puzzle, just so you can understand what I'm saying here. Input. Michael is at that really famous museum in France looking at its most famous painting. However, the artist who made this painting just makes Michael think of his favorite cartoon character from childhood. What was the country of origin of the thing that the cartoon character usually holds in his hand? So, do you think you have an answer to that question?
No.
Okay, here is what the AI said. The most famous painting in the Louvre is the Mona Lisa.
Yeah.
The artist who made the Mona Lisa is Leonardo da Vinci.
Ninja Turtle.
Leonardo da Vinci is also the name of the main character in the cartoon Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Leonardo da Vinci is from Italy. The thing that Leonardo usually holds in his hand is a katana. The country of origin of the katana is Japan. The answer is Japan.
Okie dokie.
Right?
Insane.
That
Insane.
like level of language interpretation.
That's amazing. It's incredible.
It's amazing and incredible.
Why does Siri suck so much? What the heck?
Well, that one of the things, if you look into this, Nick, I don't think Siri is gonna be bad for very much. Like,
Oh, really?
Siri's already fine. Siri's
I know she actually is. I don't actually have it.
But I do think what we think of as voice assistant is going to change based on this sort of stuff, is going to change pretty significantly in the next couple years. And I guess when I say the next couple years, I might mean freaking December. Like at this point, I don't think it's going to, like, whatever I think as a horizon for when this feels dramatically different, I think it's closer than I think. The ability to take language input and have that level of comprehension and that level of ability to problem solve on the fly. I don't know, Nick. That is going to be a very interesting future that we're walking into.
100%.
What are your thoughts on that sort of thing? Like, is that concerning, cool, good, bad,
Yes.
somewhere in between? All the above.
Yes, all of the above. So like from one perspective, it's really impressive. It's really impressive to have that kind of language and like that kind of logical step to step. And like I get how it could make those kinds of logical leaps, and not just logical leaps, but like referential leaps. Like you're in the Louvre, you're in a thing, and I mean it could scour through. Like I mean, a sufficiently strong, or not sufficiently strong, something run by a computer can just like scour through all children's references in America and be like, yeah, okay, these are children's cartoons. These are the things that could possibly be. And I get how that works, and I am not like super, but like the fact that it knows what to reference is really, really impressive to me. And that it can make kind of like logical leaps and go from like to the next steps like pretty quickly is pretty good and pretty crazy. And I often feel like, and I meant it when I said it earlier, like I often feel like I hear about new technology and my first thought is, I don't know, how are we going to like harvest our data harder? And how are we going to like have more soft spying on us at all times? And how are we going to regret how this is going to get implemented? And I don't say that like to be a pessimist. It's just like, that's always a thing with technology. It's sometimes technology is just cool. And it's just like I said, the graphics card thing earlier, but like, it's not like graphics cards hurt people when you get a new cool graphics card and it's like, oh wow, this one can like reflect lighting. Like who cares? That's awesome. That's just
Yeah.
like good stuff. And most technological advancements are like that. And AI, like I can't think offhand of an application where AI having that next step or like being able to determine that kind of thing is really bad. I would guess that like there's already some of this happening, right? Like with especially like some of that happening with like data collection and stuff. I'm sure is happening. I'm sure that you know, companies
nobody in my field is using this bad, Nick. Don't get it
Okay.
wrong. We're all completely ethical. There's
I know
nothing,
that. I know
no
that.
profiteering at all.
I know that. There's no. I'm pretty sure there's no profit in data, right?
No, not that I've been aware of. Okay. Oh, okay.
So I don't
your
know. It's really really cool. It's really impressive. That's amazing. And like that isn't not a frontier, but like that isn't a thing that anyone would have said 10 years ago, which is really impressive and amazing. And I often feel like we don't have big awesome technology jumps anymore. That's really cool. It's also my brain is like, oh, that could be scary.
Well, okay, so here's where it becomes really problematic, in my opinion. And I don't want this just to be Jeff says the world's ending doom and gloom, but I also kind of think this is the biggest. I mean, there's lots of threats in our world right now, but I do think if I was going to pick one, I'm pretty convinced at this point that this is the biggest problem. So when we did this recording, like when we talked about this topic, let's call it 2 months ago, maybe give or take a month.
Yeah.
I had mentioned that there were videos on YouTube that I was entirely convinced were entirely AI generated. Like, it was just like stuff being farmed from Wikipedia turned into video. And when I would like go on to like find, research, like people who had researched the topic, I would just find people, quote unquote, that were just reading off the Wikipedia articles. So it turns out I wasn't just crazy. That now has actually been announced by a few different companies. You might have heard of them, Google and a handful of others, where they've done some basic like auto AI generated video content, which very much feels like you just feed it, here are the concepts like in text form, and here are the sort of things that you can show the visual part of it, and it will make a video, which means that this has been in existence for a while, which is again not surprising because if just a dummy like me has realized it when I'm looking up random topics on the internet, and I noticed that like, wow, this feels like I'm just watching a freaking Wikipedia article being read to me. Turns out I was having a Wikipedia article read to me. But the interesting part about this is we're at a point where if this gets to be more, widespread, where it's pretty easy to have, an AI generated article, or just a video of any sort that is something that you're just feeding into a prompt. Our algorithms for attention have been being honed for, I don't know, Nick, when would you say like the first sort of attention grabbing algorithms started gaining traction? Like
I would say I don't know this is a fact, but I would say that like Facebook started doing like non-traditional, like they started modifying their content feed in like 2006, right? Like I think of Facebook as doing like a couple of things differently than MySpace, and I don't know the details of like why MySpace failed and Facebook didn't, but like I was like, well, yeah, on MySpace, I always think back like on MySpace you didn't have like a feed that was like curated by an algorithm, and it was like, you saw like your friends' updates and stuff. Like you saw like what was on your friends, like if your friend posted a picture, that was posted there chronologically the end, right? And that is something that is not true of Facebook and hasn't been true of Facebook. And I think I can think of that at least as far back as like 2006, that like Facebook has done stuff that's not that. So yeah.
So are you familiar at all with, so first off, I will say, I would agree. I think that we are around 15 years in, give or take a year or two, on attention grabbing algorithm experience. Are you familiar at all with how YouTube and YouTube creators handle thumbnail A/B testing and stuff like that?
No.
Have we talked about that? So,
YouTube creators just kind of like manually check.
So
go
they
between
A/B test thumbnails. So like they will upload their videos with one thumbnail, and then they will swap it out with a different thumbnail to see if it gets more click through. And
Yes.
same to go with titles as well.
Right.
So like it's a title and thumbnail combination.
Yes.
So any serious YouTuber now, when you upload a video,
we have talked about this. We'll have a couple of
yeah. They have like 3 in the hopper ready to go, like to swap through and see which one has the best click through. And again, like the same with titles, like they like that combination of thumbnail and title is critical for that initial success of the video.
Right.
So the reason why I mentioned that, Nick, this has been a thing that has been honed and the reason why it exists is because it is very successful. That is the case with many things. In a world where we have content that is generated by AI, which can produce an infinite amount of those, we are setting ourselves up for / are already in a world in which we're going to have a algorithm based system. Like, let's use YouTube as an example, but like literally insert anything here, like all of the things that are attention grabbing algorithms, which are all of the social media things these days.
Yep.
If we have content that can be convincingly created by AI that looks like things that are made by people, and it can do that at a scale that is basically infinite, and it can take the input from that A/B test as things to learn from in the future, we're going to set ourselves up where, without anybody actually learning how it works, you basically just have to say, like, I want this to be as convincing as possible. The content and the clickbaitiness and etc. can all just be turned to the max. And
yeah.
If we're in a world where it's like, well, I just want the output to be as convincing as possible, and that's something that can be done by an AI, which we're not, that's where the language thing that I was getting to earlier is like, it's interesting and it's cool to see, like, oh man, that's crazy that you can follow all of that, but that can be reproduced the other direction as well. If you just like want to tell the AI, like, how do I say this fact in the most convincing way possible, the most persuasive way possible, and it knows what will have the highest, click-through rate or whatever.
Yeah.
That's really hard to think about how that works out good, Nick.
Don't like it.
I mean, do you feel like I am overreacting to the problem? Because I just to restate it, how I state the problem is we have multiple algorithms that are very, very good at human attention, and we are rapidly making progress in creating content that is AI generated toward a specific outcome. And pairing those two means that, I mean, Nick, here's my problem. We've barely survived the social media era as it is. Like, I feel like we are more divided than ever.
And
that's when us idiots are making the posts.
So like, I know, like, saying divided is both correct. I agree with you, and also like a big one that like everyone says, but I don't think we're just divided. I think that we're like depression rates are up, mental health issues are up. Yeah. Children have bigger addiction problems to mental health and don't seem to be engaging in as good of social behavior as they did before. And I say that as somebody who has been generally impressed by Gen Z people that I've known. And generally speaking, they seem less happy. Less happy seems like a big one, right? Like, less happy seems not good. Like, even if you're divided or whatever, like, I mean, that can be a product of other things too, right? Like, I don't blame political and cultural divisions explicitly on social media. I don't think it helped by any means, but like, I mean, I think that social media exacerbated them, but I think there are other problems there. I mean, like, we're in a world that just had COVID, and in a world that just had, like, not that long ago did we have the 2008 financial crisis, and like, there's a lot of other stuff in the world that can really strongly impact people. That is not just a product of being like overly online or overly hearing overly divisive rhetoric or having misinformation out there or whatever other effects of social media like there are, and there's a million, right? that is me scratching the surface, right? And so like, but we're just like less happy, dude. Like we're just like not happy. Like that's real bad, and like we're like addicted to our phones, and like like we eat worse and like a million other things. It sucks. I don't love it, and so like I was trying to let you talk because I don't know how to like say this gracefully, but like I don't see any real positives to let me go back one second actually. Like why couldn't Facebook or Google just create infinite content using AI generated stuff that is like AI generated to be as clickable and as scratching of biological itches that like we don't really even realize that we have, like the most clickbaity, the most likely to get clicked through, that also through AI generation is like convincing people of things that are either not true, that are dangerous, or that simply just make everyone spend all their money with the Google, Amazon, or Facebook of the world, or Apple, or whoever, whatever other tech.
I think that will happen. Just like whatever's most profitable is what's going to happen.
Right.
Or at least like within a stone's throw of that is true.
Well, the thing that scares me with that is not just that like the thing that's most profitable will happen, but we've already seen how the things that are not profitable, that are very profitable for social media companies, are things that nobody wants in the world. That nobody wants more extreme rhetoric, and nobody wants you know what I mean? Like it's literally negative. Like the things that are most profitable for Facebook and Twitter and Google and whatever are people to be obsessed with their phones and obsessed with hearing the news and obsessed with hearing and scared out of their gourd about the next about whatever thing. And I mean, there's things that we should be worried about and like take seriously, and we should be an informed populace, but like also,
but your entire day should not be consumed by
correct
how your world is going to end.
It's not. Your attention should not be 100% given to to social media, right? Like that's just not. But like I just don't see any reason to think that they wouldn't do the thing that like they wouldn't dial that up to 11. And I say dial up to 11 like it's some conspiratorial thing. I'm sure what this would actually look like in practice is a even more gradual, even bigger erosion of our time, attention, and mental health away from what we've always had, and increasingly towards, fearfully checking our phones and reading social media. You know what I mean?
I 100% think that the commercialization of our attention will continue to be a thing that we see accelerate at a pace that is gross to even think about in the like actual time that is spent. Like, I don't know. A lot of this ultimately, the reason why it exists is because it's profitable. And unfortunately, like the reason why it's profitable is because we like to check our phones, to look at the thing, to like just oftentimes as a distraction from all the things that are going on, or as a doomsday reminder of all the things that are going on, like somewhere on that spectrum. And that it's a rough cycle like that.
Right.
There's good parts of technology for sure, and like I don't want to discount that, but like man, the effect on our attention and
it's not good
that does is really challenging. Like I've always thought that, and like I don't think I've ever shied away from saying those words. But yeah, the effect on our attention when it is becoming more and more easily manipulated via very good machine learning stuff.
Right. This machine learning has essentially is sophisticating the attention grabbing techniques that companies want to use. Right. Like I don't want to sound like a doomsday person. You said I know that you're not saying that either. Like, if you told somebody about like the effects of Facebook in 2004, they might either call you a doomsday person, or you could be like, no, dude, society's not going to end.
That's just like marketing. That's like marketing. Like
right.
That.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would say, no, dude, the society's not going to end. It's just not good for us all to have like, an 8-hour screen time average or something. You know what I mean? Like it's not good. Yeah. And it's not good for kids to grow up with like even more media to try to compare themselves to, whether it's like women comparing body standards or whatever, like young girls comparing body standards or whatever. Like, we both have talked about.
Oh man, as a person with kids, please don't let me have to think about this.
Yeah,
that seems like a me in 10 years problem. Please don't make me worry about this.
fair. But you know what I mean? Like, it's not like
no,
it's not
I
that
don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about
I'm
it.
sorry.
It's probably worse. Like, that's my actual takeaway is I think that what social media has done to body image and stuff like that, I don't even, man, we don't have enough time to talk about that.
No. But all I mean is, like, it's not a doomsday thing. I'm sure that the difference, is not going to be that we are going to have like a civil war because of Facebook, right? But like, what I do think could happen is, like, mental health results and happiness are worse in 10 years. Is like, that's a very easy thing to imagine, right? Like, because we're a little bit more addicted, we're a little bit more commercialized, we're all a little bit poorer, and Facebook's a little bit richer, and also our mental health is worse, which is a different way of being poorer. And if Facebook's like, well, but what? We can't control it. We're just doing what's best for our shareholders. Like, we're just using the technology. Isn't the technology amazing? Look, you can make Donatello on you just type in Donatello in a t-shirt and a Hawaiian shirt, and there it goes.
Ignore this war that's caused by Facebook.
Right.
It has nothing to do with any of this. That's fine.
Facebook really is connecting us. You know what I mean?
Like you said, Nick, there's no wars caused by Facebook.
Yep.
Because Nick said that.
Well,
and that's
what I
said
said was we wouldn't have a civil war, and honestly, I think that's realistic because we are in the global north and everything. But yeah, I mean, there could be some more Myanmars in the world. I could see that.
Gosh. Oh, man.
This is my non-political show. This is
my
place
non-political show. Yeah,
where we
I
talk
feel
about
like I
things
need
that are
to
fun and interesting
grasp
to us.
my microphone again and just talk into it deeply. But no, yeah, it's fun. It's all good fun except for the part where it is real. I don't know, man. Like, it is just it's an increasingly weird world that we live in, and I think the more I understand about it, the more I feel that we don't understand where we are. Like, it's just if honestly though, like, if you were to go back 10 years and say any of the things that are true today, you would feel crazy. And
right.
It's probably always been the case. It's just feeling it on the front side of that is just, it's a weird place to be in. And
it is.
I think it's okay. I don't want to be like a panicky or I shouldn't say, I don't want to be overly panicky. I am a little concerned. Don't get me wrong, but
I have
also,
some concerns about.
It's just kind of the nature of things. Like, I do think it's kind of the path that we're on. But I am definitely an advocate that we have these conversations, because I do think that there's a lot that matters here, and how we land is going to be pretty impactful for
and
millions of people.
I'm a layman hearing it off the cuff. Maybe there's guardrails in the technology that we can like actively utilize. You know what I mean? Like, I'm hearing and reacting to it off the cuff and with my pessimism glasses on, because I've been wearing those for like a little bit over like 30 years.
They have some wear, yeah.
They have some wear, right? But like, I think they I don't know. Maybe they don't work okay. Maybe I'm just crazy. But regardless, like, I want to be excited about technology, and there's ways that like that sounds like amazing and cool and like just fun. And I don't want to be Mr. Pessimistic. I do think it's important we talk about it too, though.
Okay, thinking of things that are not pessimistic, Nick, real briefly, because that's where I'm at right now. I'm going to ask you a question. It's pretty broad. Okay. What is the most extemporaneous thing that you've done? Like, what is the spur of your pants thing that you've ever done in your entire life?
I mean, I've taken trips super, like,
that's kind of where I'm at. What's a... short-term trip that was pretty big.
Jen and I went to Hawaii once because we just happened to both have vacation time, and we're just like, screw it, what are we doing? Like, why don't we just go to Hawaii? That's probably the most crazy one.
What was the turnaround on that? Like, how long between idea to leaving were you?
Probably like a week or less. Like, probably less than a week, but not like go to the thing. Like, more like, hey, tell our bosses I want to use my vacation. Like we're gonna do it right now.
So I think
I've taken more spontaneous than that, but they've always been like, oh, let's just go to Northern California for the weekend, like that kind of. But those are smaller distance, you know what I mean? So yeah.
So I think I'm doing the most extemporaneous thing I've ever done.
Okay.
A little bit like COVID induced of like, I'm finally effing done with this bull crap. It's been 3 weeks. But
fair.
You've known that I've been into Formula One, and so is my wife.
Oh, yes, I have.
And tomorrow, at the time of recording, is qualifying, and the day after that is the race.
For which race? This is like a critically important race
in Austin, Texas.
Okay.
Which is an 8-hour drive. And
oh, Jeff.
the qualifying, so it's an 8-hour drive, and the qualifying is in, I think, it's at 2:00. So it's 11 o'clock now.
So 15 hours.
So I'm going to be waking up, in very short time. We're going to be dropping off our kids, and we are going to qualifying. There's an Ed Sheeran concert after that, and then we're going to watch the race. I think so. I think
that's crazy.
I think we have it all figured out.
When did you guys decide to do this?
Mid-recording of this episode.
Have you been texting her behind my back? Oh, amazing.
Yes.
That is fantastic.
It was almost all the way figured out beforehand, but we still had some last minute things.
That's awesome, man.
I have been texting to be sure, but I am going to hop off this recording and I am going to buy some tickets. So I think that is the
amazing,
most extemporaneous, most extreme.
Hell yeah. Well, good for you, sir.
Done. I'm very, very proud of me. There we go.
I'm proud of you too. And I will say, like, for me, I don't even think about it because, like, the biggest consideration I ever had was, like, texting my sister and be like, could you watch my dog for a weekend? And you know what I mean? And, like, now it's like,
I have to have a kid that like, gets taken to school on Monday.
You have children. Oh, my God.
All right. Well, let's wrap it, Nick.
Okay.
We do this podcast, but we also have a secondary podcast where we talk about things more extemporaneously than this, even more so than, coming up with a weekend AAA.
Off the cuff.
A little more off the cuff. If you want to check that out, you can check that out at patreon.com/TaiWasApp.
You can also follow us at TaiWasApp on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And you can find all of that at TaiWasApp.com.
Nick, all those sounded so great. Thank you so much for potting with me.
You are welcome, sir. Thank you all. This has been the year we started the podcast. And thank you all for listening.
Got it in one.
Got it in one. Yeah, one. That's what we call it.